I just left the room where we had the negotiations about the digital identity, and I have bad news. The Member States and the European Parliament came to an agreement. It means that probably not far from now, the digital identity will be effect in the European Union. Right after this agreement, Commissioner Breton said, now we have the digital identity wallet, we have to put something in it. And what he meant was the digital euro, also known as the central bank digital currency. And this is a very bad development. They always promise us not to make this connection. And even a lot of experts, privacy experts and security experts, warned also last week this is a very bad idea for our privacy and our freedom.
The digital identity is not just a passport that you will have on your iPhone in a digital form. It entails just about everything the government would like to know about you. And yesterday in the Dutch media, we saw a perfect example of what it could entail in the near future. We had the CEO of one of the largest Dutch banks say, why don't we start with a personal carbon credit? A carbon wallet, she called it actually. Yeah. So right in line with the plans that the World Economic Forum people have for us. And she said it in a way that was particularly funny. She said, well, if everyone gets an individual personal carbon credit, why don't we make it so that rich people who, for example, want to go on holiday a little too often can buy personal carbon credit from other people who, for example, can't afford buying plane tickets or eating meat too often. So we can that way swap it out.
Oh, so if Bill Gates or Leonardo DiCaprio's carbon footprint is getting a bit too big, then some peasant living in his hovel up country somewhere can sell his, and he can't afford to go to Saint-Tropez, but he'll be able to sell his carbon allowance to Leonardo DiCaprio so Leonardo can park his yacht in Saint-Tropez for a couple of extra days.
Exactly right, that's it. So what will happen is the rich
I first stumbled across Agenda 21 in about 2008. And quite frankly, my first reaction was to dismiss what I was reading because I didn't believe that any government in Australia would take us down this road. Then I began to see a legislative pattern emerging in Parliament, which concerned me greatly. And I also started to see the tenor of legislation that we were passing. I did air those concerns in Parliament and it was dismissed and ignored. The words Agenda 21, ladies and gentlemen, were never meant to be spoken. And if they were, then of course it would be dismissed as a conspiracy theory. Because if people knew Agenda 21 and what it stood for, there's plenty of information out there where they could actually learn what the end game was, and governments didn't want that to be known. My dad always said to me that people only lie for two reasons. One reason is because you're ashamed of what you're doing, and the second reason is that you don't want people to be warned just before you screw them. And I honestly believe that these secrets have been, that these secrets have been kept for both of those reasons. Ladies and gentlemen, the origins of the environmental movement as we see it began back in 1968 when the Club of Rome was formed. The Club of Rome has been described as a crisis think tank, which specialises in crisis creation. The main purpose of this think tank was to formulate a crisis that would unite the world and condition us to the idea of global solutions to local problems. In a document called The First Global Revolution, authored by Alexander King and Bertrand Schneider, on pages 104 and 105, it stated, "In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers, of course, will be caused by human intervention that will require a global response. That's the origin of global warming, ladies and gentlemen. In 1975, Australia agreed to bring in a new economic order via the Lima Declaration on the Second Conference of the United Nations Industrial Development Organisation. The outcome of this was, as I said, the Lima Declaration, which was a blueprint for the redeployment of tools, jobs and manufacturing to the developing nations, leaving countries like Australia short of technology, a manufacturing base and jobs. Blind Freddie can now see what the outcome of that has been for our country, with the unworkable trade and tariffs agreements hand in hand with this that have followed as a matter of course. This is now a reality, with around 90% of our agriculture and manufacturing just gone. Australia signed the Lima Declaration and hundreds of others with the support of all major political players: Whitlam, Fraser, Hawke, Keating, Hewson, Howard, Rudd, the Democrats, the Greens and even the Nationals. It has been put to me that all of these treaties were the foundation for the rollout of Agenda 21, and it seems that Australia has been moved around the global chessboard, and our so-called leaders were either complicit or naive to the long-term consequences. And now we're almost at checkmate. In 1992, former President of the United States, George Bush Sr. said, "Effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift in the priorities of both governments and individuals, and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action will be integrated into individual and collective decision-making at every level." Cutting through the code, I want everyone to consider what the words "profound reorientation of all human society" and "unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources" actually means. For everyone here tonight not familiar with Agenda 21, I would suggest that this is the beginning of your learning curve, not the end. In 1992, Maurice Strong, Secretary General of the UN Earth Summit and member of the Club of Rome, said, "It is clear that current lifestyles and consumption patterns of the affluent middle class, involving high meat intake, consumption of large amounts of frozen and convenience foods, use of fossil fuels, ownership of motor vehicles, small electrical appliances, home and workplace air conditioning, and suburban housing are not sustainable." Put those statements together with the previous one, and it must become clear that Agenda 21 is about controlling every aspect of our lives: how we eat, what we eat, how much we eat, how we move around, food production, the amount of food, and where we even live. Dixie Ray, former Washington State Governor and Assistant Secretary for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs, stated, "Agenda 21 seeks to establish a mechanism for transferring the wealth from citizens to the third world. Fear of environmental crisis would be used to create a world government and UN central direction." From a report in the 1976 UN's Habitat 1 conference, land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset, controlled by individuals and subject to the pressures and inefficiencies of the market. Private land ownership is also a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth, therefore contributes to social injustice.
There is a method to their madness. There is definitely a method to their madness. It might seem like it's out of place, everything that is going on, the dismantling of the education system, right? All of a sudden, they're giving you the JFK assassination documents unredacted. Right? All of a sudden, there's this exposure of so-called the globalists, right? All this stuff, like she said, the reorientation. So they have to, for them to fully erect the new system, which will be a digital system where AI will be the forefront of it, they have to totally destroy the present system, the industrial age we're living in, and move into the fourth industrial revolution. See, there is a method to their madness. Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, right? Digital wallet, digital identity. All this stuff is to usher in this prison planet, like she said, total control, so to speak. They want to control everything, your food, your water, where you live, everything. You will own nothing and be happy. This is not a time for you to be easily distracted. There's a lot of distractions out there, a whole lot of them, a whole slew of them. You can easily get caught out there. This is the time for you to open your eyes. This is the time for you to stay wide awake to the ways of the world, right? You really need it for you, your family, more especially for you, right? Because you cannot save anyone that doesn't want saving, right? If you've been tapped in your mind, in your spirit in this time to see what is going on around you, you can't lull yourself back to sleep. You cannot do that. This is exactly what they've been trying to do, right? And they want you to think that billionaires out there, the minions of the wicked elites, are fighting for you. Because once you believe that, what happened? You will go back to that lackadaisical mindset. Because, oh, there's somebody out there fighting for me. You know, we have the new president and Elon Musk. They are all out there doing everything that they can to drain the swamp. They're playing 5D chess. All that stuff, you tell yourself to put you back to in a comatose state. Meanwhile, the European Union, they just passed a digital wallet, which will bring about the CBDCs, like you heard the individual mention. What do you think that is? Well, that is the cashless society where your buying and selling, every transaction will be totally controlled, because we're talking about programmable money. This is money that is programmable in the sense that you can only buy what this money has been programmed for you to buy. You cannot exceed that. And if you are part of a troublemaker, so to speak, to the powers that shouldn't be, guess what? You wouldn't be allowed to buy anything. This is where your social credit score system comes in. You see? So there is a method to their madness, and before they get there, it has to be all out chaos. All out chaos. That's why till today, what is happening in Gaza is still happening in Gaza. It's all part of it. And somehow it's still happening, and none of this UN and none of this other governments can stop it. I mean, they'll complain about it. Oh, what is happening in Gaza is genocide, blah, blah, blah. But they won't do anything about it. Why? Because it's all part of that method to their madness. They need that chaos. So you have to be aware of it. You can't let them catch you off guard, right? You have to be totally aware of what is going on in your surrounding. See? Which brings us here real quick. This is 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, and the 11th verse. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chahakodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, beginning with 144,000 mighty men of the house of Israel, down to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in these latter days, who are of the elect, to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, right? So I have to pull this scripture out because we're living in a time where it is easy for you to be sidetracked, right? It is easy. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of enchantments, sorceries going on from the mainstream news media, from the bread and circuses, from the shields, right? There's a lot of shields out there, to get your mind primed for the next thing to come about, right? So you can easily get caught out there. This is why I had to pull the scripture out to let you know that you are fighting against an enemy that has his foothold and everything and everywhere. Basically, just like the tentacles of an octopus. There's the movie called Spectre. That was a James Bond movie, right? So in that James Bond movie, they called them the Spectre, and they were like the shadowy government, if you will. And they had their tentacles on every aspect of your life. Just like the lady was talking, going into how they're looking to control everything. And this digital system is a very, very good means for them to do that. Because digital system is, like it implies, is in a system that is controlled digitally. And whoever is in control of that digital system, controls practically everything, right? Because when the money goes cashless, no more physical money, right? Even though the fiat currency is all bullcrap, but at least, you can spend it on whatever you want to spend it on. Nobody has to, tell you this or that and carbon footprints and all of that madness, right? But with this programmable money, they can turn off your digital currency, because you will be required, you yourself, you'll be required to have a digital identification, which will be the surveillance under your skin. You'll be required to get a device that will operate this new digital system. And in the Bible, it is known as the mark of the beast. This is not sci-fi. The infrastructure has already been laid out. This is the same reason why the UN, the EU have given the go-ahead for the digital wallet. And what will you put in this digital wallet? Well, the CBDC, which is the digital currency. You see? So you have to understand what is going on and don't be easily distracted by all the craziness. Now, a lot of people are all into the new movie that came out. They're feeding into that energy. What is that? Snow White, right? Go to on social media, usually on Twitter, right? That's all they're talking about, this and that, and you can just see how they feed into that, right? And a lot of people were happy that Disney didn't make a lot of money. You think they're concerned with money now? It's all about propaganda. They're not concerned about money. They've made tons of money. Even the movies they put out, they're still making money till today, right? They're not concerned about that. It's all about to galvanize your energy. That's what they want. They need to galvanize your energy. They need you distracted. Meanwhile, they're putting out things that will directly affect you, and you have no clue what it is. So this individual here.
I just left the room where we had the negotiations about the digital identity, and I have bad news. The member states and the European Parliament came to an agreement. It means that probably not far from now, the digital identity will be effect in the European Union.
Not just in the European Union, all across the globe. You see that? So this is what they're doing behind the scenes. Meanwhile, you're worried about the wrong things. You are worried about the wrong things. You have to understand that a lot of this, your celebrities, they're always acting. Even when they come on social media and say this and talk that, they're always acting, and they need you to feed off of that, right? They need your attention to be on that. Meanwhile, behind the shadows, they are passing laws that will change everything the way you know it. Like the old song, "This is the end of the world like you know it," something like that, right? This is the end of the world like as you know it, because we're going to a whole new way of living. And this whole new way of living will be a digital one. Total control. Are you prepared for something like that? Are you? Even a little bit of this one.
The digital identity is not just a passport that you will have on your iPhone in a digital form. It entails just about everything the government would like to know about you. And yesterday in the Dutch media, we saw a perfect example of what it could entail in the near future. We had the CEO of one of the largest Dutch banks say, "Why don't we start with a personal carbon credit?"
Oh.
A carbon wallet, she called it actually.
Yeah.
So right
You see that? A carbon wallet, digital wallet, carbon wallet. Now you understand where all these things are going? The terms they use, you have to be very, very aware of this. That's why it says here, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. You see that? We are familiar with it. Here, this is 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, and the 1st verse. It says, "He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. When thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest." So we are living in the end times. We are definitely living in the end times. And what that entails is doesn't mean that the world will implode and that will be that. Nah, it means the end of an age. End of an age. The age of wickedness. And before that happens, wickedness will be at all-time high. And we see the effects of it. The school system, the medical system, right? All the systems are totally corrupt. And they're practically letting you know, yeah, this is how corrupt it is. So now, the wicked elites, their way forward is to give it over to AI, which is the digital way, for everything now to go digital, to be digitally controlled. Because they say, oh, men are incapable, with the whole planes falling out of the sky and DEI, all of that, right? They're saying men are incapable, incompetent to control stuff. So let's just leave it off to AI to take care of these things. Well, AI is not God, right? AI is not Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Never has, never will be. So all this way of living will definitely come to an end. But before it comes to an end, it will be all out chaos like you've never ever seen before. That is what the whole book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, is going into. So for them to have the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Great Reset, whatever term they want to put it, for that to manifest, they have to totally destroy the very present system, then reset it, right? That's the great reset. It says, even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. So we are seeing those signs. Now, all in the news is talks about World War III. So these are parts of those signs. This talks about digital this and digital that, which is a new way of doing transactions. These are part of those signs, and it was all written in the Bible. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. You see that? So for you to escape this thing, you have to have faith, and you have to have works, your righteous works, whereby ye have believed. You got to believe it. It says, shall be preserved from the said perils. See that? Perils. So we're about to face some serious upheaval times, crazy times. Your mind wouldn't even begin to wrap itself around it. It's like there's this TV series, Black Summer, the second season. Man, of the first episode was crazy. If you've seen that series, if you haven't seen it before, I suggest you check it out. Black Summer is it? It was crazy as hell. Crazy as hell, man. Just how crazy it was, the craziness, you don't know where to hide, where to run. It was all out war. There was another movie, Bushwick, I believe, with John Batista, the wrestler. I believe that's his name. Bushwick. Another crazy ass movie, man. Kind of like give you an insight of how crazy it was. There's the movie that the director didn't get to do it. He got unalived before he could produce the movie. Can't remember, Gray State, I believe. Gray State. And what we only had was a trailer. Him, his wife, I believe his children were all unalived. Because he was trying to tell you how crazy it's going to be. Believe you me, and we're about to live through some perilous times. And don't take it for granted, don't take it for a joke that you're able to hear warnings like this. You see? And shall see my salvation in the land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Who is that? The elect. So there are those from the beginning that have been chosen to escape all this stuff. They will be in the midst of hell, but somehow they will make it through. The 9th verse says, then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. So those, when you had the opportunity to take heed and turn back and repent from your wicked ways, you thought it was all a joke. You scoffed, you scorned. Guess what? Like it says here, you will be in a pitiful case, whatever that will be for you, right? Because I had this clip here. It says American farmer says he's tested his soil and has 5 times the amount of aluminum it used to have. And if you're going into this clip, this individual who is breaking down how the crops are no longer yielding the way it should. That's what he was saying. And I already posted it if you're on my Rumble or Odyssey on YouTube, you see it, right? And he was going into how very soon they won't be able to produce the way they used to produce, right? So famine is part of this pitiful case. Imagine being hungry and nowhere to, right? The lights going off, right? No internet, no cops. You can't call the cops. None of that. It will just be all out craziness happening all around you. Gun-toting individuals just out there getting it, shooting up everybody just for ramen noodles. That's the times we're coming in, man. There's this statement that the is it Prime Minister of France, Macron, he was talking about how the time of abundance is coming to an end. I mean, I used to have that clip. It is on my Rumble somewhere. I probably put it up like last 2 years, right? He says the time of abundance is coming to an end. So that is that pitiful case. A lot of things will be happening all at once. All at once. So you need to have the mental fortitude to keep yourself stable. You need to have a divine intervention. Like it says here, those that have been sanctified from the beginning will make it through. But those that haven't been sanctified from the beginning, guess what? They will be in a pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments, be it hunger, be it pestilence, diseases, somebody shooting up your home, anything you have to take it, unalive the people around you, the people you love so much, and leave you alive to just feel the pain. You see, that's part of those torments. You end up in the concentration camps where they will reorientate you, re-educate you. Who knows what form that would take. It says, for such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, right? You've been living it up. Chasing the bag, chasing the clout. He never took the time to know the God of the Bible, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. This is why all hell will break loose and you will be caught in the middle of it. It says, and they that have loathed my law, while they have yet liberty. So right now you have liberty. You still hear this word, you still hear the scriptures, you still hear the warnings. And when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it. So when you hear this word, it's irksome to you. You want no parts of it. You're like, oh man, I want to hear this, That's why you dwell in torments. The same must know it after death by pain. You want no parts of this, man. This is the time for you to hunker down and get this word and move accordingly. Lord willing, we will be protected by what is about to go down. Because it will go down, and very soon. Very, very soon. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.